with Harvard being the institution that it is, Doc, it represents a lot for a lot of people. It represents so much for America. But then to have this, and I don't want to say it's a bombshell, because I don't know if we are truly surprised that this institution was connected to the transatlantic slave trade the way it was.
Right.
And when we start to look at it, they put out this 134-page report detailing various elements. And I'm looking at the report right now, Doc. Okay. I mean, they broke it down into various sections or chapters, rather. They have an introduction, slavery in New England and at Harvard, financial ties, Harvard and the slave economy. They have chapter 4, intellectual leadership, Harvard, slavery and its legacies before and after the Civil War. Chapter 5 is the long legacies of slavery, segregation, marginalization, and resistance. And then they have chapter 6, which is a conclusion. And then chapter 7 is recommendations to the president and fellows of Harvard College. And then there's 2 appendices attached to this report. First and foremost, when you heard this announcement from Harvard, what was going through your mind? Were you surprised, or were you like,
no, not
finally?
No, not in the least. Harvard had to get in the game. I mean, it had already been beaten to the punch by our sister Ruth Simmons, who, of course, convened the conversation at Brown University. Ruth Simmons was the first woman of African descent, first person of African descent to be the president of an Ivy League school when she took over Brown University some years ago. And she convened, as a former African-American studies professor, Dr. Simmons, a committee to investigate the role of Brown in enslavement. And of course, she retired from Brown to great fanfare, and then decided to return to the South. She's from Louisiana, and she is just now retiring from being the president of Prairie View A&M. So Dr. Simmons kind of pointed the way to this. And as they mentioned in the report, in the recommendations phase, section 7, they note her. And they also note some other places. Princeton Theological Seminary, which has created a $27.6 million reparative endowment. Brown pledged $10 million. 10 was raised by private donors, and $8 million from the Brown Corporation. And we know that, I'll quote Scott Galloway, professor at NYU, who calls these Ivy League schools and others who are Ivy adjacents, the Stanfords, the Universities of Chicago, basically the NYUs, they're basically hedge funds with who admit the children of the donors and a few other exceptional Negroes and others and burnish their brands. So Harvard was a little bit behind the curve. Georgetown had raised some money, and they're talking about descendants of those who were enslaved. They mentioned the University of Glasgow, in fact, in the Harvard report. So Harvard, of course, is Harvard, which means, oh, we can't let these other schools outdo us. So they are going to set aside $100 million in an endowed fund to basically engage in forms of, I don't know, they don't call it reparations. They wouldn't be that silly. That would get them on the hook. I'm sure their lawyers workshopped every line in what they wrote. But, you know, in the case of Brown, they put together some money for K-12 students in Providence, Rhode Island. They engaged in loan forgiveness for students, fellowships in terms of slavery studies. In terms of Harvard, and I know we're going to talk about this in a minute, finally. Harvard created some recommendations that, if nothing else, will burnish the Harvard reputation. So no, I'm not surprised at all. And anybody wants to read about the role of enslavement in the Ivy League, get Craig Stephen Wilder's book, Professor Wilder's book, Ebony and Ivy, where he basically traces the impact of enslavement and the creation of the Ivy League schools, all of them. So you can just get it in one book. So no, I wasn't surprised at Harvard at all.
Would you recommend that people take a look at this report, this 134-page report?
Absolutely. I think it's a masterpiece of forensic science. I mean, I love it. I mean, I was telling Joel and you before we came on. I mean, I've kind of been laughing. There have been a couple of moments I laughed out loud. Not at the tragedy of enslavement, of course, because we, of course, are victims of that, ongoing victims in the afterlife, but laughing at the kind of aggrandizement of Harvard's resources. Sven Burkett, who has written a number of studies talking about enslavement, he's got a book called Empire of Cotton. As it is noted, Burkett and his students, including undergraduate students, have been tracing some of this stuff for a very long time. And now, you know, in the wake of the reckoning of 2020, so-called, and of course, President Bacow in 2019 called this piece together, you know, Burkett plays a valuable role. And there's some top-notch scholars involved in the committee that was pulled together. Tomiko Brown-Nagin, who we've talked about before, you know, Professor Nagin at the dean of the Radcliffe Institute, professor of law at Harvard, who just wrote a great book on Constance Baker Motley, Evelyn Hammonds, Annette Gordon-Reed. I mean, there are a number of people, but again, reinforcing the Harvard brand. I started to say Howard, but we talk about that in a minute.
Right.
Little Sisters of the Poor Benefits Association, that is recommendation number 3, I think it is. Building partnerships is what they call it. But we'll talk about that with HBCUs.
Right. So, folks, I would advise folks that are watching today, if you want to get a copy of the report, you can download it for free at legacyofslavery.harvard.edu /report. legacyofslavery.harvard.edu /report. And you can read the report for those who are interested, those who would like to see what Harvard has to say about their involvement with slavery. This is an opportunity for you to see it. Dr. Carr, when we look at this, $100 million, and my first thought was, well, where did they get this number from? First, even before the number, what was the impetus of even creating a committee? And I know you mentioned everybody else was kind of doing it, but do you feel like there was a singular incident that was like, you know what, we need to do this? Or is it just a number of things that happened over the past couple of years? And you know, whether it's George Floyd, the killing of George Floyd, whether it's you know, all of those things, what do you think really got Harvard saying, okay, enough is enough, we got to say something?
Well, Harvard is the brand, as we know. It's not the King's College in New York, which was later renamed Columbia University. It's not any of the others. It's not Yale. It's Harvard. Harvard is the American Oxford, the American Cambridge, the American University of Berlin. It is the brand by which all other universities are measured. So $100 million is a lot more than 27.6. $100 million is more than 10. In other words, the number, I'm not going to say it's arbitrary, but it's a nice round number that it adds a zero to anybody else. You know,
right.
You know, and
it sounds substantial and significant.
No question. And just like Mackenzie Scott, who has given away millions in unrestricted funds in terms of philanthropic efforts to historically Black colleges, tribal colleges, and other institutions, the money on her Amazon stock has made that money back that she gave away and more since she's been giving it away. Harvard's not going to miss $100 million, and it's an endowment. It's not direct investment. It's not like they're saying, okay, we're going to give $10 million to 10 different HBCUs to do what you want. No, it's not. No, it's not that. It's not like they're saying we're going to endow several K-12 institutions and you can do what you want with the money. In other words, it's not a form of reparations. It's really the money's not really going anywhere in terms of, you know, Harvard is going to, and for some of that money, I'm sure, pay itself. And you know, they're offering, among other things, the possibility of exchange programs with Harvard faculty and HBCU faculty. Now, maybe they're going to pay the HBCU faculty salaries when they come work at Harvard. But of course, that would mean that the HBCUs would have to pay the Harvard salaries, which would actually hurt the HBCUs. Anyway, I'm not sure how that's going to work. But the point is that that $100 million is not being given away. To quote the line from the Jimmy Stewart film, It's a Wonderful Life, Potter's not selling, Potter's buying. But at any rate, so that they're burnishing their reputation. Now, is it better to have this money than not set aside? Of course, it's better to have this money set aside. But I'm not surprised at all. In fact, when the opening at the beginning of chapter 1, the first line in the report said Harvard's motto, Veritas, which means truth, of course, inscribed on gates, doorways, and sculptures all over campus, demands of us truth. And as you know, brother, as it is said to have been said to Pontius Pilate, when Pontius Pilate said, "What is the truth?" and would not stay for an answer. So when you read the report, the truth of the matter is a great deal of it is big up in Harvard. It's big up. In fact, when I first saw the story break and downloaded the report, I went looking for the things about Harvard that I expected Harvard to lift up. Who are the exceptional Negroes that it is let in? So I went looking for the HBCU folk. The Du Bois is in there, of course. Eva Beatrice Dykes, a lot of people don't know her. She was at Oakwood College. She came out of DC, went to Dunbar High School, went to Howard, came to Harvard. They said, we don't count the Howard degree. You got to take a Harvard degree. They talk about that in there. Richard T. Griner, who was the dean of Howard's Law School, was a graduate of Harvard University. He's in there. But what I'm looking for, and then I started reading the footnotes. And as I read the footnotes, what I noticed, take Eva Dykes, for example. I'm looking at Eva Beatrice Dykes, who was the first woman of African descent to qualify for a PhD, complete the requirements for a PhD in history. One of 3 Black women who graduated PhDs the year she graduated. And I'm looking at the footnotes, and what I see accessed is the Radcliffe archives for the things they have in their archives of Eva Dykes. And so that's cool. But what I didn't see were the books written by Black scholars, including a cat at Oakwood for years, talking about Eva Dykes. I'm like, how did Harvard evade the opportunity to quote Black scholars writing at Black institutions about somebody they're saying was a person who suffered racism at the place that, well, I tell you, chef's kiss. So yeah, you gotta read it, man. Forensic science. It's a beautiful elevation of the Harvard brand in a kind of moment of, I don't want to call it cosplay, but self-flagellation in pursuit, as they said, something that ends of them truth. Anyway, we'll see.
Folks, we are having a conversation around Harvard's claiming or saying that they're going to commit $100 million to create a legacy of slavery fund after they have come out with a 134-page report outlining their involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. This report of the Presidential Committee on Harvard and the Legacy of Slavery shows intimately, based upon their history, their research, and the work that was done by their committee, that Harvard gained and benefited from slavery. And so they're trying to come clean with this report and with other ideas and goals to address this issue. We've been talking to Dr. Greg Carr, who is a professor of Africana Studies at Howard University and is the host of the Black Star Network's The Black Table. Dr. Carr, I want to throw up here just something that they put out. This is what Harvard put out. Keenan, if we could post this quote on the screen talking about what Harvard is planning to do, some of their key goals in this whole effort. They are planning to address slavery legacy. The report calls for spending the money in a multitude of tracks. One, by tracing the modern day descendants of enslaved people at Harvard. 2, by building memorials and curriculum to honor and expose the past. Number 3, by creating exchange programs between students and faculty members at Harvard and those at historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, and by collaborating with tribal colleges. And 4, by forging partnerships to improve schools in the American South and the West Indies, where plantation owners and Boston Brahmins made their intertwined fortunes on the backs of the enslaved. Seems like these are very lofty goals here. And Dr. Carr, when you look at goals like this, I mean, I'm talking about the memorials, the curriculum, and they said that even that a lot of these goals are vague on purpose because they wanted to hear feedback from other folks within the Harvard community and outside of the Harvard community to add to it. But do you think this is a good start? These four goals, is this a good start for us?
It's a great start for Harvard. You know, I don't think anybody should be applauded for confessing to a crime.
Right, and that's bad.
So you know, I'm always wary when we celebrate having been abused when an abuser says I did it. That doesn't really change the relationship.
Hmm.
And in reading through the recommendations, I understand they were intentionally vague. The direct descendants, I love this one. Let me read it again. It says, we further recommend that in recognition of its lineage, the university engage with these descendants through dialogue, programming, information sharing, relationship building, and educational support. Through such efforts, these descendants can recover their histories, blah, blah, blah. The last one there, educational support. So you're giving scholarships? Now, in the case of Georgetown, which offered assistance to those who are direct descendants of those who were enslaved under Georgetown's auspices, including several Africans who were actually sold to keep the university's doors open, those people still have to satisfy Georgetown's entrance requirements. So, you know, we'll see. I mean, and that's just in terms of the people who can trace. Now, mind you, there is a lawsuit. Tamara Lauren is having a lawsuit because one of her ancestors is in that photograph collection that is at Harvard, that Harvard now claims that it owns. I mean, so, you know, they're in court about that. So you got a direct chance to do the right thing there. But let's move on quickly because I know we don't have a whole lot of time. The enduring partnerships thing was interesting. The visiting appointments between HBCU faculty and Harvard faculty, that's interesting. Okay, as I mentioned before, the other thing they said is maybe they're going to establish a Du Bois Scholar Exchange. So HBCU students, junior level and above, can come to Harvard, and Harvard students can go to HBCUs. Now, that kind of exchange program has existed for years among HBCUs and HWCUs. But here's what I found out at Howard after 22 years of teaching. There are several Ivy League schools who stopped doing it. Why? Because the Black students would spend a semester at Howard and say, yeah, we good. We're not going back. So they started transferring to the HBCU.
Wow.
So when I saw Harvard saying they want to establish this, my first question, and it's an open question, is, did you all have one before and then you stopped it? Because I know several schools in the Ivy League, which I won't name, and Ivy adjacents, who canceled doing it because the Black students were coming and staying. So again, there's nothing in this report that doesn't help Harvard. You know, in fact, I mentioned this finally, Appendix 2, the note on process. They talk about all the things all the people they consulted, the librarians and things like that. They said they consulted librarians at several schools, including Howard, that digitized information for them. Well, that led me to this other question in number 3, enduring partnerships. They want to digitize collections at HBCUs to help them, what they call it, safeguard these materials. Safeguard? Really? They did. There's a partnership between Princeton and Harvard right now that is digitizing the records of the Black Teachers Association, Pre-Integration Teachers Association. It's being headed by 2 fine Black scholars, one at Princeton, one at Harvard. Again, I won't name them. Y'all can look it up for yourself. My question is, how y'all gonna digitize institutional records of Black institutions that were preserved and fought during Jim Crow to end Jim Crow, and now the stuff end up at your house? Y'all ain't slick. It's gonna, and then now you'll invite 2 or 3 remarkable Negroes up there. Maybe you'll give them a Carnegie, or they'll get a MacArthur Genius Grant. And what you now have said is, look at us. Look at how great we are. We're helping these. Meanwhile, the institutions themselves, maybe they'll get a couple of exchange students, a couple of exchange faculty to burnish the fact that they've worked among the Negroes. But look at how they watch it. When y'all read this, look at how they characterize HBCUs. Look on page 9 when you see HBCUs first mentioned, and they talk about them doing the best they could, but ultimately not having the resources to be. You know what? Just cut a check. Y'all love Du Bois so much.
Cut a check.
Write Fisk a $50 million check, no strings attached. That ain't no money. You'll make it back in 6 months on your endowment. Write him a $50 million check, but you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that at all.
So I mean, and so it like, you know, going piece by piece, looking at each one of these goals. I'm wondering, I mean, there were Black people in the room. There were Black people at the table.
Yeah. So
how was it that they were in the room at the table, but yet these goals, these recommendations still come across as being Harvard's recommendations, Harvard beneficial?
Because they're of Harvard. And this is not a criticism of any of them. Certainly not William Julius Wilson, certainly not Tia Miles or any of the other. And I mentioned those 2 in particular because Tia Miles is a younger scholar and William Julius Wilson is one of the most respected Black scholars in the country. This isn't the William Julius Wilson of 40 or even longer years ago, writing in the Negro Digest, Black World, debating about the future of HBCUs. This is the William Julius Wilson who was recruited by Henry Gates and others into Harvard when they were building that dream team, when Gates and Cornell West and William Julius Wilson and others were brought to Harvard. And then the other Ivy Leagues started doing the same thing. You know, I'm not critical of any of those Black scholars, any of those Black academics, because they are part of that system. And in those debates and rooms, you know, this is a very rich report. They're not ducking some of the difficult things that are raised. At the same time, they are part of that institution. In other words, reparations is about a lot more than burnishing the institutions that benefited from the enslavement of Black people. If you're talking about real reparations, you're talking about repair. So I don't have any problem with that. Now, if all those faculty decided that they were going to resign and come work at HBCUs, I'd be like, okay, that's interesting. Go on, because HBCUs aren't the answer either. Harvard is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. What's the situation for poor Black people and brown people in Cambridge? Just like Yale is in New Haven. Anybody been to New Haven know that there's Yale and there's the hood. So I'm saying, you know, at least with Ruth Simmons and Brown, they're talking about the surrounding area there or around Brown. Now, so I don't think Harvard is excluding any of that. What I'm saying is, as you say, if this is the start and they kept it intentionally flexible, let's see what happens next. And, you know, we'll all wait and see.
So speaking of reparations, I mean, you talked about Professor Tamika Brown-Nagin.
Yes.
And she said in an interview last month, just before this came out, of course, that they were being intentional about making sure that this $100 million is not seen as reparations, because she said, quote, reparations means different things to different people. So fixating on that term, I think, can be counterproductive.
Absolutely.
So do you think that was the right decision for them to not frame this as part of a reparations conversation?
I know they be leaving themselves open to very real critique, because reparations means one thing. And Professor Brown-Nagin, a brilliant scholar, on the faculty at the law school, Tamika Brown-Nagin got a JD. She know damn well you better not call this reparations. So you have to be intentional. You can't, of course it's not reparations. You can't talk about reparations. Professor at Columbia, my friend Catherine Frankie, who wrote a book called Repair several years ago that I actually teach at Howard Law School. This is a white woman, radical scholar at the law school, to whom I've sent students. In fact, one of my best students, Brother Jalil Muhammad, he grew up in the Nation of Islam. Jalil is graduating from Columbia Law in a couple of weeks.
Wow, I know Brother Jalil.
You know Jalil. Jalil is my man.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Jalil is a brilliant scholar, and she's got him working on this reparations work. He's extending her work. What Catherine Frankie said is, my ancestors benefited from enslavement, even though I am not from people who were here. But I came here, and guess what I got coming here? Whiteness. She said, you know what? I think there should be perhaps a wealth transfer tax. And that money we put in a common fund. You can have community land trust. You can have education. You can have all. She writes about this in her book, Repair. Harvard not talking about that. And Professor Brown-Nagin knows good and well they're not talking about that. So of course now when she says we shouldn't get fixated on it, I suspect that part of the reason that you don't want to get fixated on it is because that will require more of that institution than you are willing to call it your own. And when you read this report and you look at the history of Ewart Griner, for example, who founded the African American Studies program at Harvard, whose daughter Lonnie, of course, we know, the jurist, and who Bill Clinton sold out. When you look at all these things in that report, when you look at William Hastie, Charles Hamilton Houston, the people who Harvard produced, Eva Dykes, W.B. Du Bois, most of them, many of them in that group came out of HBCUs. Now, if there's going to be a wealth transfer to HBCUs to train more students, that would look more like reparations, because you benefited from HBCU faculty. In fact, they said in the report, these HBCU undergrads you sent to us burnished our reputation, even though from 1898 to 1940, there were about 60 Black people in the Harvard student body at Harvard College. So the Negroes you did send here were superstars. And the Negroes who are there now are superstars and want to continue to shine in a firmament that they would not want to diminish by continuing to hold it to account in a way that might cost them their jobs. So I don't have no critique of them. They want to stay working on John Harvard's. I started calling it John Harvard's plan.
Right.
Anyway, but I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna call it John Harvard's plantation. I'm not gonna call it. I'm not gonna, even though as they detail in the report,
Right.
the literal seal of the law school for years, that sheaf of wheat in the middle was a gesture toward the enslaved plantations, out of which they got their donations and their profits and their investment returns on investments for loans. Oh, they detail it beautifully in the report. What you gonna do about it? We're gonna set up a fund and talk about it.
And see, Doc, and Dr. Carr, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I'm still not hearing. Give me the substance. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we're getting the appetizer, but we're not at the main course right now. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, like when you're talking about reparations, I know part of the conversation has been on education in terms of, okay, the descendants of enslaved people should be going to certain Ivy League schools like Harvard, Yale, free of charge.
Mm-hmm. Or better yet, going to HBCUs and other schools with some of that Harvard money. That would be reparations.
Wow.
See, but how's it repaired when you basically, in fact, the last thing they write in the conclusion is much remains to be done as we seek to live up to our highest ideals. But by undertaking these endeavors in good faith and with a commitment to meaningful action, the university imbues Veritas with new meaning and renews its commitment to excellence. Wait a minute, is that the same commitment to excellence you had when them enslaved Africans was working on the?
Come on.
So what you talking about? No,
and and Dr. Carr, explain this to me, because you've been in academia for years. You understand the dynamics, you understand the power players, you understand how everything works out.
Sure. Some of it.
What you say some of it, but when we look at this situation, I mean, like, HBCUs are struggling. HBCUs in this country are struggling. They're still trying to make ends meet, right? Whether you're talking about Morgan, Howard, any HBCU, they're struggling. We're still petitioning. I'm gonna use that term lightly. The government for more assistance.
Yes.
But then you have institutions like Harvard, like Columbia, like Yale. Harvard has an endowment. Check this out, folks, of $53 billion.
Wait, what? That was saying 53 billion, baby.
$53 billion.
Wait a minute, how much is a billion? A billion is how many million? A billion is 1,000 million, right?
Right.
If you set aside 100 million, you set aside 1/10 of a billion, and you got 53. Man, they're gonna make their money back by the time the show is over.
50, or by the time the show is over.
And they didn't even give it out. It's an endowment, meaning what? We are setting it aside and keeping control of it. Come on, y'all.
That's what I'm saying. So I feel like there needs to be, the gap of inequality between HBCUs and the little money that HBCUs are getting versus these larger institutions. And I'm thinking to myself, it can't be that difficult to come up with a strategy or way to bring some real equity in it. And I always say this, Dr. Carr, and I've been saying this, please correct me if I'm wrong. Dr. King said, "Is always the right is never the wrong time to do the right thing."
No question.
And so it's like at this point,
that's right.
At this point, I'm convinced that you just don't have the will. You really just don't have the will to do the right thing.
Right.
So I mean, like I hear what Harvard is saying, and I think, hell, any institution, any business or corporation, I think they all gain. If you're talking about Ford Motor Company, you talk whatever industry, they have all benefited from the transatlantic slave trade. They have all benefited on the backs of our people. But at this point, the admission is that's nothing to me. No. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Substantially.
I don't have any real criticism of Harvard because I don't have any expectations of Harvard. See, this is the thing. I mean, the idea is that we have these expectations. And so when you talk about the endowment, Howard is the closest HBCU to $1 billion endowment. It's just south of $1 billion. It's now in the high 800s. There's no other HBCU that's close. Spelman, I think, is second. They may be over the $300 million mark. But there aren't 10 HBCUs among the 103 or 4 or 5. And shout out to Morris Brown for reacquiring accreditation in the AUC, there aren't even 10 that have $100 million or more. And Harvard's sitting on 53 plus and making money every day with investments that speak to their participation in predatory lending, capitalism, this kind of thing. And in the report, they talk about the challenges Black students and others have made to how they invest their money. But, you know, again, I don't have any criticism. I'm glad that this report came out. I think it sets a model and a template for this, for how to understand how higher education works at that level.
Yeah.
But I do think, though, finally, Farajii, that our challenge, and you've covered this extensively, brother, in the culture over the time that you've been on the air, it involves the least of these: forgiving student debt, lowering tuition costs, addressing K-12. And what Harvard has said in this report is we want to help with all of those things by sourcing our Harvard scholars that have analyzed this material. And yeah, okay, so you're going to burnish yourself for writing new reports on K-12 education and interface with school districts. You're going to do that for free now, right? Okay, or better yet, you're going to go in these school districts with your brilliant analysis at the Harvard School, Graduate School of Education, and you're going to help them acquire the similar type of brilliant analysis, and then you're going to get out of their way, right? You're going to show up without the whole.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, peace and welcome to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Man, oh man, it's so good to be back into the host chair. Oh my goodness, so much has happened over the past 2 weeks, folks. But I want to say, first and foremost, before we get into our show, big thank you. Oh my goodness, big thank you to Black Star Network, my fantastic team, Joel, Shannon, Keenan, oh my gosh, Ariel, everybody for holding it down. I thank all of my production team for making it making it such a great situation. Big shout out to our culture crew that continue to lend their time to support us during this great transition. And then, of course, to all of you for tuning in, for still sharing the videos, for still making comments, for still riding along with us, folks. I appreciate you so much. Folks, I made a huge, big transition. I'm going to break it down to you more over these past couple of days because I'm still trying to process what happened. But we are in a great place. I'm out here. You can kind of say I'm a little bit on location. Yeah, I'm going to say I'm on location. But trust and believe, we're going to share with you just a little bit more about some of the things that are happening. But again, big shout out to Black Star, my team, culture crew, and all of you for these past few weeks, a couple of weeks as we've been holding it down and doing what we need to do. All right, folks, we're going to jump right into it. I got my main man, Jules P, culture crew member. We got B Fly also. In a moment, we're going to be joined by Nola Roe. Nola Roe is a podcast host, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about why it's important to be authentic, and more importantly, what it's like to really create a platform. We're celebrating her 2nd year anniversary for the Nola Roe experience. And so we're really excited about the opportunity to talk to her. But I'm going to bring in my culture crew. Let's bring in Jules right now. Jules, good to see you, man. How you feeling, sir?
Hey, man, it looks real lovely out there, man. I'm kind of jealous. I'm about to go on location. It looks real lovely out there.
Jules, check out the fit, yo.
Man. I'm about to get out this room and go out there. I gotta take a trip.
You gotta get...
I gotta go. I can't do this. I'm no longer doing the culture from my room no more. I'm taking a trip. Start next week. I'm out.
Oh man, folks, and we're gonna be joined by B-Fly in a little moment, in a few moments. But Jules, always good to talk to you, man. So much has been happening. Before we bring Nola into the conversation, one of the big things that I wanted to talk about is, when you create a platform, and then you have to share your thoughts. And we are living in the space right now, Jules, and some people even think that this show is a podcast. I say, no, it's not necessarily a podcast. I can understand why you think that, but it is a digital daily show. We run this on TV. This is more of a television show more so than a podcast. But what's your take on this? There has been a huge explosion of shows that have come on the podcast sphere, on the digital space. But it's really exciting to see a lot of hosts checking in that space. What's your take on that, bro?
The key, and like you said, especially dealing with the NOLA podcast, how you talked about it when you first described it, the key is the authenticity, because we're living in a world where the negative headline gains the traffic. And it's like, all right, if you're not that type of person, don't conform to just using the negative headline to gain your following, because if that's not what you're actually going to talk about or discuss on your regular daily basis, don't use that as your plot to get people to come in. Like, that authenticity of creating these shows is giving different, voices from different people. I mean, you get different perspectives from, whether it's sports, whether it's culture, whether it's music, whether it's politics. You get so many different cultures. I mean, I'm watching so many different podcasts. I'm watching so many different live shows now that I'll have interest. Like, growing up, we just had the news, or you just had like networks like CNN, or you just had different, one place to go. And then you had to pick and choose what time you wanted to watch what particular segment. Now I can literally go and download what I want to listen to or what I want to watch, and watch it or stream it at that time, or watch it in live as it's going down, and literally pick and choose the type of information that I want to hear on a daily, consistent basis. And I think that's a great platform for all of us to be, able to get access and gain to.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing about it, Jules. Like, the reality is, and this is something that I've seen. You've been doing broadcasting, radio work just as much as I've been doing it. But this is the thing. Like, people think that just doing this type of work, whether you're on radio, television, podcasting, people tend to think that this is easy. That this is just something that you just throw together. And I always let folks know, it's like, that's one thing to have a platform. Mm-hmm. But it's another thing to be responsible in how you use your platform, right? It's another thing to, and I tell people all the time, this show is called The Culture with Farajii Muhammad, but it has nothing really to do with me personally as much as it has more to do with what's going on with us as a people. And so I think it's interesting that people have this view of like, oh man, if you're on your show, people want to hear about you each and every day. Man, nobody cares, In some spaces, nobody cares, right? Now, in the podcast world, when we see that in the podcast world, bro, that's different. Mm-hmm. Because it's a little bit more intimate, it's a little bit more personal. And I think that is I think that's one of the big things about this situation. Like, you can be intimate, but do you think there should be some boundaries placed on how much you share during any platform, on any platform? You think there should be some boundaries?
It depends on the subject matter of what your platform is based off of. If you just have a freelance where anything goes, then okay, that's what it is. But if you're focusing on a set, like this is what I'm talking about, this is what I'm focusing on, then there should be boundaries, because you don't want to cross too many things, and also you don't want to repeat on a lot of issues that are remaining the same and in them same spaces. So I do feel like it depends on what the basis of your platform is. I would never put boundaries on anything, because I feel like a person like me, a lot of times I speak before I even think it, which, it happens, but sometimes that creates the best conversations and the best moments, and it creates the best dialogue, especially if you're dealing with another co-host.
Right, absolutely. All right, so let's bring Nola Roe into this conversation. She is the host of the Nola Roe Experience podcast, celebrating her 2nd year anniversary. Yes. Congratulations, Nola. How you feeling this afternoon?
Oh my goodness, so blessed, so blessed. Thank you.
Absolutely. Nola, all right, first and foremost, 2 years in the podcast game, right? With it first, I got 1,000 questions, but we got limited time, okay? So I want to start here first. What really inspired you to want to create this space, this podcast, the Nola Roe Experience?
The Nola Roe Experience podcast is based on real life experiences, from entrepreneurship to, we have an episode where I encourage people to make sure they use a contract no matter who they're dealing with. It's called Give Your Mother a Contract. And
wait a minute. Hold on, Nola. Hold on. What's it called?
Give Your Mother a Contract.
Give your mother a contract.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter who you're dealing with. If we're in business, we need to have guidelines, and we need to make sure that we're both protected in a legal way. Because I've seen some things with family.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I come from a family of business owners. My mother has a restaurant in Brooklyn, New York. So I know what happens when funds are introduced into relationships. You've seen it in divorces where people are madly in love, and when they break up, all of a sudden they're enemies and they're going after money, and contracts definitely help out with that. But I was inspired to do this podcast because I was born an expressive person. I've always had expressive energy in my body, which came out as a talkative child, right? So as a little girl, I'm talking all the time. They couldn't get me to be quiet in school. But when you are a parent and you have work to do and you have bills and personal issues, and not just parents, guardians, anybody who's around children, a lot of times you don't have the capacity to accommodate a child when you notice that their energy is leaning too far to one direction. It could be a hyperactive kid. It could be a kid who's jumping around doing backflips all the time. A future gymnast, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people are constantly saying, sit down, be quiet, shut up. But I don't think my people and the people who were taking care of me, had that emotional intelligence or the emotional maturity to stop and think, like, there might be something to this. Let's give her a mic, or let's do something about this. But I've always had expressive energy, and the moment nobody could tell me to be quiet, it was a wrap.
So wait a minute. So my teachers used to tell me, Nola, that I talk too much. I was a very talkative boy when I was in school. Jules, don't even make it. I know you were a good student, Jules, so I'm not even going to talk about you.
Okay. All right.
But I was very talkative. So how do you make sure that you keep that energy? Like you still want to create some boundaries, but at the same time, you don't want to diminish a child's, creativity, or you don't want to diminish their level of expression. And I know that's a very fine line to walk, especially for parents, teachers, and those in authorities over children. What would you recommend for that?
Yeah, I'm a mother, so I have experience with that. My son, I noticed that he was gravitating to drawing and painting very young. And But he's also super critical about his work. Like there are times when he would cry. He's like, this is not what I meant to do, and I don't like the way you look. So yesterday there is currently an exhibit in Manhattan, New York, the Basquiat exhibit. So I took him to see it because I wanted him to see that art does not have to look a certain way. Whatever it is that you're feeling inside, you can express it. And
I'm feeling it. No, I'm feeling it. Go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
Yeah, like whatever it is that that energy that feels super strong inside of you, you have to figure out a way of expressing it, but also being emotionally intelligent enough to understand how your energy affects your environment. So you could be an artist, or you could be loquacious, a person who likes to talk a lot, but understand when you're doing a lot, you have to know your audience. You have me. If my son talks all day long, I listen all day long because he has that with me. But we've had conversations about, listen, it's not everybody is going to be open to this. Not everybody is going to be have enough stamina to have these conversations, and that's okay. You have to respect where people are. But when it comes to me, you can come and ask 1,000 questions. I'm always open.
And that's what's up right there. And my son is probably, how old is your son, Nola?
He just turned 11 a couple of weeks ago.
It must be that age, Frank. The age. I'm telling you, my son is just as loquacious as possible. I'm telling you, he is just like that. But you know what? I love it. You know what I mean? And I'm always challenged with that reality. Like, yeah, he has a lot of questions. He's very observant. He's critical. He might be critical of me. He might be critical of his mom. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, son, okay. I mean, I like your intelligence, but you know what I'm saying? Because
listen, I've had experiences with my son where I have super honest conversations with him. I've had days where I'm like, baby, I need a moment. I
mean, that's real. That's for any parent, though.
I need a moment. And he's like, I get it, Mom. It's cool. I got you. I'll make my stuff to eat. I'm serious because I'm human. You know what I mean? And as a mother and business owner, and also a person who needs to take care of herself, sometimes you have to tell your kids, I don't know what language you use, but I'll let him know.
Yeah. You know, when Nola, you know how we did in the Black community, right? Like, it's not the best. Let me tell y'all something, man. This ain't the best way to handle it. And our parents come home from work. Hey, Jules, you know you did this to your mom. Soon as she step into the door,
I'm 1,000.
She like, I told you to sit your ass down. And you like.
You know what? And that's a communication lapse, right? As a child, there's no way that you can possibly fathom or understand that she probably just got through dealing with a boss who's getting on her nerves. Like, traffic is probably exhausting. And sometimes as a parent, we don't always understand that he's being this way because I'm his favorite person. Right. He wants to tell me everything. And we don't understand each other sometimes. So that's where that thing comes in, where sit down and shut up. But as I became an adult, I was able to look back at my people and say, they didn't understand.
They didn't understand. Right. That's absolutely. Jules, what's your take on that, sir?
I mean, I 100% agree. I just and I definitely, my question, and this is just for, creatives in general, is like, before you were able to launch, because now, and congratulations again for you being 2 years in of success, what obstacles did you face before you were able to launch your first episode? And then what obstacles after your first maybe 4 or 5 episodes did you face and had to readjust to then continue on to get to this 2-year mark?
The thing that I learned from working on events over the years is every single time I did an event, there was something popping up that I wasn't aware of that I needed to do. Every single time. And I've been doing events for years. Every time there's a learning experience, right? So the obstacles, I think people believe that once I'm in there and I got it, I'm good. No, you're going to have obstacles until you die. All right. So if you're afraid of obstacles, find a hole and just stay there, and
Right.
that's life. But people have been approaching me for years to do different things in entertainment, right? And I've always said no to people. Are like, I'm doing this movie, do you want to be in it? And I'm like, I don't act. I'm going to do a disservice to your project, you know. But I think people have always sensed that there's some type of energy, there's something that she can possibly bring to the table. And I knew that I wanted to do something, but I didn't know it was a podcast. But when podcasts started popping up, I would have a lot of people saying, you should do a podcast. What is that? What we're talking about? You should do a podcast. You should do a podcast. And my obstacle was the way I would want to present this podcast. I can't do it by myself. So as much as y'all are suggesting this, nobody is offering to help, right? But I did have
right. That's real.
I'm telling you, people do it all the time.
Man, as I said, she hit the nail on the head. Exactly.
Woo!
A friend of mine, shout out to Mr. Mele, who is now my co-host. He was one of those people who kept saying it. And one day he was like, Nola, if you do this, I am going to be your producer, because he's an audio engineer. So he knows how to do the technical stuff. He was like, if you do this, I'll produce for you. And I was like, boom, let's do this. Right. So the obstacle was, one, getting people on board who would have the same mindset and understand that this can't be just me. I'm not about to record this on my phone. And no offense to anyone who's doing it that way. That's just not my vibe.
Come on, Nola. Come on, Nola. You hitting them. You hitting them hard, Nola. You hitting them hard.
I don't mind being impactful, but I don't want to hit anybody too hard, right? So Melee hopped on, and our close friend Adrenaline, he started helping so much that I was like, you're helping so much, why don't you be the producer? So now I have a team. The challenge and one of the obstacles has been, I've been running a vegan food business for many years, right? And this was largely for money. And it was really messing with my mental health because I was doing it for money. It was successful. It was very difficult to let go of it, because how do you let go of something that's bringing in all of this money? But the podcast is what makes me jump out of my bed and be excited. So figuring out, how do I let that go and put my all into this podcast? That was definitely a huge obstacle. But also my team, Melee has a baby, Adrenaline has a 9-to-5, Melee. So getting everything in order. We have meetings every Sunday. We go live every Thursday. So it's just being super organized and making sure that you're taking time to take care of yourself so that you're mentally clear, physically able to pull this off. So the obstacle at this point is just making sure that you are as harmonized as possible, because there's no balance, right? So once we're able to harmonize our lifestyle, we're able to produce better. So that's my current obstacle at the moment.
And I'm just saying this, and I mean, with all due seriousness, Nola, that's exactly, I've experienced that myself. People have often, I've done radio on FM and AM, locally and nationally. I'm on this space, on the digital space, and people always say, hey man, why don't you do a podcast? And I'm like, bro, that takes time.
Do you see
that takes effort.
My plate,
you know what I mean? That's not right. Like, bro, I'm already on one space. I'm doing stuff in the community. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I got 2 children, bro. When am I going to think for myself? When do I have time to read? When do I have time to eat? Y'all want me to? Then you want me at events every weekend, right, bro? And then you want me to do a podcast?
Stop.
No, why don't you just tune into the show I got? Tune into that first.
Listen,
and then let me know if I hit a topic that you want to talk on. But I'm pretty safe with that one. Tune into this one first, bro. I'm telling you, I tell people that all the time. People like, man, I'm like, bro, you see us for 2 hours, but how many hours does it take to prepare for a 2-hour show?
There you go.
And if I'm doing a podcast, no, I'm like you. I ain't gonna just set up my phone and be like, all right, yo, what y'all want to talk about? Let's talk about the McDonald's lady.
Oh man.
No, we're
Oh, man.
we're not throwing shade. We're not.
That's not. I'm just saying. No, here's look. I'll be
Hold on.
real.
When's your birthday?
When's my birthday?
Yes.
May 5th.
You're a
Cinco
Taurus.
de Mayo. I'm a Taurus. So you know how Taurus. I know everybody got their
I'm a
so here
Taurus.
we go. Everybody.
I'm a Taurus.
So naturally greatness is within you. But no, I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying seriously, like, because I see myself as a media professional.
Right.
I've been in professional spaces. Now this is 20 years. So if we're talking about doing something like a podcast, everything has to be of a certain quality, right? And then it has to be. I mean, seriously, that's the type of person that I am. Like, okay, if I'm gonna jump into a project, especially on the media side, when people see my face or hear my voice, there has to be a high level of professionalism as much as we can. But you don't want to start off and be like, hey man, I seen Farajii with Rolling, then I seen his podcast though. Damn, bro, like, what was that joint, man? That looked glitchy and no graphics, and I mean, you know what I mean? And so people expect a certain level of quality to come from it. So I definitely appreciate that. Look, Nola, I want to get to a couple of the comments because people are just really feeling the direction of this conversation, and folks, post your comments on our Facebook and YouTube pages. But let me just share what folks have been saying. Let's talk about. Hey, Damon, I miss you too, bro. I miss you too. Damon said, checked in and said, man, I miss that laugh for Raji. Hey, brother, I miss you too, brother. I miss you too. I'm out here in the sunny sun. I appreciate that. Karen checked in and said, look, we gotta know priorities and listen and watch. Teacher told me oldest was talking a lot to her friend at school. I said, great. She is working on connecting with peers right now and building friendships. That's absolutely correct. That's the beauty. Like when you talk to your children like children, or you respect their existence in the household, that gives them a sense of value in the community. Willie checked in. My man Willie Frazier said, look, my mom would say, give me an hour. I hear that, brother. My mother would say that too. She just said a little bit different, like, give me an hour or. Yes, ma'am, Mom. I'm giving you an hour. Sun Lion 551. You said I needed to hear this. I have a grandson called Bam Bam and a granddaughter I call Bump Bump. Both deserving of their nicknames. Lord. Bam Bam and Bump Bump. I hear that. Hey, thank you, Sun Lion, for checking in. All right, so here's the thing, though, Nola. You're at this space. You actually got 30,000 people that's tuning in. First and foremost, let me do this, Jules. That's a lot of people that be tuning into a podcast. Real talk. But some of the things that, talk to us a little bit about what this second year means. What does it look like? What will it look like? I know that there's a couple of events that you're going to go to more events. I know you're doing more events, Nola. But talk to us, like, how is this going to be rolled out with this second year, and how people can, what people can expect differently than what you did in the first year?
Well, we're not really veering off from how we started. The goal of this podcast is to connect with people on a human level. Let's have conversations about things that we're expecting to hear from each other. It doesn't have to be anything too deep, too crazy. What we try to do is get a little bit serious. The last episode that we dropped is called Colonic, where we like to appeal to the whole body, which is my personality, right? When I'm dealing with people, I love appealing to the whole person. So we've definitely had mental health conversations. We want to talk about spirituality. But the last episode, we talked about colonics. I have a lot of experience with colon cleansing and colonics. So my team, when I first presented it to them, they were like, an hour talking about colonics? No, we're not doing that. It doesn't seem possible, but we did it, and they were just blown away by all of the information that I have about that. So we talk about money, we talk about cosmic sexuality, just different things that appeals to the human, and not just trying to, I don't want to throw shade, but a lot of times people throw gimmicks out there to pull you in, and we don't want to do that. We just want to relax. There's a little bit of ratchetness in there. We get funny. We do get serious. So if you're one of those people who feel like I'm a whole person, I like to be into all different types of things. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about, we're talking about farming next. We're talking about the Second Amendment. And a friend of mine is actually running a program on Long Island in New York where he's teaching people how to fill out these applications to become armed legally, right? And he's also teaching people how to farm, how to be self-sufficient, how to grow your own food and not feel super dependent. The other day we had a shortage of formula and babies were starving. And I'm Caribbean. I was born in Guyana. I came from a place where people didn't have formula, but babies were being fed and they were fat and thriving. So it was a little bit of a culture shock for me. I'm like, why don't people know how to feed their babies? And it's not about shading people or judging people. It's an observation about society and how we are too dependent on things that we can be creating ourselves. So those are the type of things that we're offering on this podcast, and we're laughing.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome right there. That's absolutely awesome, and I'm so happy that you kind of speak to the whole person, because I agree with you. I've heard podcasts before. I'm more into the podcast that's going to teach me and inform me about things. And I don't mind having conversations, but it seems like everybody's talking about male-female relationships.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody is talking about just some ratchet trending story that they've seen online. So it's like, I mean, I get the draw of that, but then there is I always think about, well, how if your podcast went off today, how can people still tune into it and make it fit? And I think about this even with my show, that if my show went off today, how will it still be considered to be one of a kind and timeless because of the nature of the conversation? You know what I mean? Like, is there still something like you can watch the show a year later, you can listen to the show a year later and still grab some jewel that you can take into that present moment? And that's something I often think about. Do you think about things like that, Nola?
Absolutely. And if you tap into the Nola Roe Experience podcast, you will get that. Our first episode dropped in 2020. It's called Hedonism. And I wanted to use that word because that was a word that we used as a draw, by the way. We use that word because when people hear it, they think that there's something naughty going on, right? But it's really about tapping into pleasure. And also when people hear pleasure, they're thinking sex automatically for some reason. But one thing that I do in my personal life that I wanted to share with people is, oftentimes people walk around and we fool ourselves into thinking that our lives suck, right? Oh, my boss is this. Oh, my kids are annoying. My husband is this. And my car broke down. But you're not paying attention to your food when you chew it. And you're not stopping by a tree when you walk by to look at the leaves to see all those little veins and realize, like, wow, this is phenomenal. Have you ever seen a peacock? Every time I'm in my car, I literally bought a car with a sunroof because I wanted to be able to, I swear to you, I wanted to be able to put my hands up through and feel the wind. When I do that, I always say in my head, gratitude. The earth is giving us air to cool us down. We're really living a pleasurable life. And I also feel like people in today's society are the most comfortable people ever in history, right? But we're also super miserable because we miss out on all the small pleasures in life. So Hedonism, episode number 1, which is the oldest episode, it's a timeless one. And people can always tap in and say, I've had people say, Nola, because of you, I'm chewing my food better, because you're not paying attention to the texture and how it's rolling around in your mouth and how it's feeling and tasting and how it's nourishing your body. And that's pleasurable. You know what I mean?
I love it. I absolutely love it. Shalinda checked in. Shalinda, always good to hear from you, sis. She wanted to ask you a question, Nola. What channel is your podcast on Sirius XM?
We are actually on Apple, Spotify,
Okay.
definitely on YouTube, iHeartRadio, and wherever you like to stream audio. But if you want to watch the video, tap into YouTube and Spotify.
There it is. There it is. Thank you,
Thank you
Shalinda. And Janelle Fields, Janelle, good to hear from you again, sis. You say, I like how she said a little bit of ratchetness. And I definitely can appreciate the homesteading vibe she's throwing out there with self-sustainability. That's what's up right there. That's what's up right there. A little bit of ratchetness, but a little bit of that homesteading vibe. There we go. Yeah, I can tell. Hey, dude, you can tell. Nola probably gets into all different places. She probably take you there. You be like, yeah, she about to. Here she goes. She going in a different direction.
Yep.
But, you know, you be like, okay, hold up, sister, hold up, sis, hold up.
Sorry, listen, I'm from Guyana. I'm Caribbean, right? But then I moved to the United States. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. So I'm coming from that spicy flavor. I'm also coming from growing up in the hood and having these experiences that build character, that, you know, help people maneuver through different. I remember Jay-Z said that he knows how to move through a room full of vultures. You know, these are the things that I appreciate, and these are the things that I put into my podcast. The fact that I'm coming from a different country, so I have a different perspective, and I'm a food person. I'm all about flavor, and that's figuratively, you know, whether it's flavor and expression, flavor in fashion, flavor in how I interact with people. And growing up in Brooklyn, now I live, you know, I live not in Brooklyn. Long Island is the place that I'm going to be calling my future home, because it's a little bit quieter. But now I have evolved into this. I don't want to hear any noise. You know what I mean? I want to be near water. I want to be near the woods. So I am a multi-dimensional person. And if you tap into my podcast, that is what I will be offering you. And I appreciate people tuning in and feeling it.
Absolutely. I already know about transitions. My man Keenan putting it up there, right there. There you see it, Nola. The Nola Roe experience, folks. You can check it out where podcasts are streaming right now, Spotify, Apple, everywhere. Nola, we got to bring you back on, not to just talk about your podcast. Maybe we could bring you on just to chime in on some issues, because we talk about a lot of cultural and political and pop culture and a lot of issues here. So we would love to have your insight. So Nola, I appreciate you. Congratulations again for your 2-year anniversary, folks. Make sure y'all check in with our sister from Guyana via Brooklyn now and making her way to Long Island. There we go.
And I appreciate it so much. I am grateful for what you do. You know, I tuned into your show on my birthday because, you know, I watched Lee Swinney, your interview with her. And I was like, I love his energy and that laugh. I don't know who mentioned your laugh. Somebody talked about my laugh. And I'm like, I love it when other people have a ratchet laugh. Very comforting. So...
Hold on. I wanted the camera to see my face. Did you just say my laugh was ratchet?
Yes, but that's a good thing. It's hearty. It's genuine.
It's contagious. When he laugh, you laugh. It's contagious.
Right. The ratchet laugh. That's the first time. I like that though. I'm gonna take that from Nola.
I'm grateful.
Hey, Nola, I appreciate you so much, sis. Again, we thank you for your time. Congratulations. And tell your co-host, your partner, Melee, hey, man, keep up the great work. But we really appreciate you. And we'll definitely bring you back on, sis. Thank you again for your time today.
See you later.
All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about some of the other issues. Let's talk about what happened with the WNBA All-Star game. I know this is right up Jules's alley. I'm going to share with you some of the big stories coming out of there and so much more. So stay with us. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. As you can see, man, the sun is moving on my side. Let me bring my man Jules P back into the conversation. Culture crew member, hip-hop artist, activist. Jules, it's nice and sunny where I am, sir. It's nice and sunny.
Yeah, it's very nice to hear about. I appreciate the warm embrace that you're presenting in this shot. It looks like you're having a good time. I'm just in somebody's gun. Fine. That's fine. That's great. It makes me feel wonderful.
Nice breeze.
You outside, I got windows. I'm looking at the outside. Yeah. I got a poem. I see a tree. I don't have all the experiences, brother. I ain't there yet. I got a couple more months. I'll be out there.
Jules, we gotta bring you out here, man. Oh man. Folks, big shout out to Nola Roe, man. That was a great conversation that we had with her. Definitely check out her podcast. All right, so here's the other thing. Now, Jules, I know you are a sports guy. Keep up with everything. Did you watch the WNBA All-Star game this weekend?
On and off, because there was so much going on. I had an event Saturday night as well, so I was kind of in and out watching the game.
In and out. Yeah. So if for folks who did not know, of course, now let me just say this, and Jules, I would love to hear your take on this. The WNBA, which is, of course, the women's league or the women's version of the NBA. I don't want to be politically incorrect in saying that, but they are still fighting to get the full resources, backing, and attention to the fact that women can play basketball. And I think it's mind-blowing. You're right. We have talked about, of course, Brittney Griner, who is in Russia right now. We'll talk about her a little bit more in a moment. But there have been, of course, Cheryl Swoops, and there have been shining stars to come out of the WNBA. But when I looked at the game, Jules, it still did. I mean, I think the women did fantastic. I mean, the skills, dynamic. but it still didn't get the same level of attention. It still didn't, you know what I mean? Like you would see what we saw with the NBA All-Star game. Do you think that the WNBA is going to get to that place?
Yeah, it has to. All right, so here's a couple of things. Because I'm a sports head fanatic, so I actually go to a lot of WNBA games. I go to a lot of Washington Mystics games. You know, it's our closest team, DC. So I go to see the Mystics. I was actually listening to a couple NBA athletes talk a while ago, and I definitely agree with this. From actually sitting there and watching the game, the thing I respect the most about the WNBA is because it's more skill. So when I say that, people look at me kind of crazy. I say, well, if you think about it, they don't have the same athleticism that a LeBron James, that a Kobe Bryant had, that a Michael Jordan had, that a Zion Wilson had. They don't have that same athleticism. So they have to use more skill. They actually think the game through better. So it looks better when you watch a WNBA game if you're looking for actual fundamentals. It looks a lot better than today's game because a lot of the players in the NBA are just relying on the athleticism. They don't have the skill. In the WNBA, 99% of those women to 100% have the skill before they have the athleticism. So the game is much better. It's thought through more. It's using more of the mental and the fundamental of the game, and that makes the game look a lot easier, a lot smoother in the transition. So that's the takeaway that I look at when I watch the WNBA games. If you really, people that are not fans, if I can convince you to be a fan, watch the games. If you know basketball, if you're not just watching it just for players, if you actually love the game of basketball, the WNBA game is the game to watch because it's actually adults that are using skills and fundamentals that we learned when we were younger in the younger leagues. And then once we get older and get our athleticism, then we get our our little shakes and our crossovers, we put that in the game. But the women are actually using the same fundamentals to run the game a lot smoother, and it looks so much better to me. That's why I love watching the games.
Hey, that's a great analysis, Jules. I've never heard anybody describe it like that, bro.
Yeah,
that is a great analysis. And you know what? Now that I think about it, when I do watch the games, I do see more fundamentals. It is a game that reflects the love of basketball as the game, and not just a bunch of big names just running up and down the court. So I like that. So one of the big things about the game is what happened. Of course, we should all know that Brittney Griner, who is a WNBA star, who traveled to Russia to play a game earlier this year, ended up being detained because she was trying to bring what they considered to be a illegal contraband across the border or through the airports. It's like hashish oil. And as a result of that, they have been detaining her since February. And just recently, she has been told that she could be facing 10 years in Russia. Now, she has written a letter to President Biden pleading for the United States and for the State Department to intervene into the situation. President Biden has reached out to Brittney Griner's wife, and he has responded to Brittney's letter saying that he would intervene, that they're doing the best that they can. Well, Brittney Griner's wife ended up being at the WNBA game, and one of the things that they did, which I thought was fantastic, is that in the second half of the game, all of the players of the game came out with this orange, with their uniforms with Brittney's number on it. Take a look at this, folks. Number 42. This is absolutely phenomenal. And one of the big things that was said about this level of this show of solidarity came from the team captain, Asia Wilson. She said that she wanted to make sure that, and Asia Wilson, she plays for the Las Vegas Aces.
Las Vegas, we're going to Vegas, baby. Las Vegas, I love it.
She wanted to make it known, and this is what she said. Hey, Keenan, let's post her quote. She said that we are not going to stop until everyone understands how serious this really is. So this came from Asia Wilson, All-Star team captain from the WNBA. How big was this for you, though, Jules? I mean, we've heard about situation with players. There's always that kind of like free this person, free that person. But how big was this? Do you think that this is going to help to really emphasize to President Biden and to all of the decision makers across the country that there needs to be something done about Brittney Griner's situation?
So, the one thing I could say about this, the women have always, and this is just speaking, and not even just for basketball, this is just speaking in our natural everyday lives. Women are already ahead of the curve. They've always been ahead of the curve. The way that they come together and stand on issues, it speaks more volumes than when we do it, because a lot of times as men, everybody wants to take the position of power. So we all have the great idea, but then when it comes time to select who that person is that's going to lead, oh, well, I can do it better than he can. It's like, it's too much undermining. The thing I respect about the women the most, and let's not even just talk about this issue. I don't know if you remember when the NBA went into the bubble during the pandemic last year. And, you know, everybody made a big emphasis on, all right, well, for 8 games, we're going to let the players wear slogans on the back of the jersey instead of their name about, you know, things going on in their culture or things going on around the world. But the women did that first. See what I'm saying? Like that was already being done. Right. The women were already doing that. They already mobilized and organized. Same thing when they had, I want to say it was a team owner. I think it was Atlanta, that they got her out of here because of things she said and platforms she stood on. And the reason I bring that up is because I feel like in an effort to bring Britney home, it's going to take them. It's sad that Brittney Griner or any WNBA athlete has to go across seas to play in the off season because they don't get paid that much as NBA players does. And I'm not even saying they're comparable. I'm just saying they don't even get paid properly to stay in America and play. After they play, to go work another job just to sustain for a year's worth of income, which is crazy. I mean, you hear the stories about them talking about the flights they have to catch, the hotels they have to stay in. They're not getting a fair advantage. So they have to go overseas and they're making more money. An interesting point was brought up about Brittney Griner. She's no more in Russia, if you think about it, than she is over here because she plays in that league over there. So they already know who they have. That's why it was crazy when everybody was like, well, don't make a big deal. Don't post her because you don't want it to seem like, you know, she's more than what she is. Russia already know who she is because she plays over there. They know who that is. It's not too many 6'5" women walking around in Russia with dreads. They know who she is. She's a big star over there. And you're trying to tell us that, hey, don't say nothing because we don't make it seem like it's a big issue. Like, chill, everybody don't. And it's like, no, that's the wrong. Y'all should have been on the way the energy that it is now. And it's not to WNBA. I'm just talking about to the culture, the African American culture that was told to keep it on hush. Women were doing that thing. They were lashing out why they couldn't speak. They were pissed. But to the rest of the culture, it was like, yo, y'all should have been having the same energy back then in February because now we're in July. And then you just had a court hearing, and now you're facing up to 10 more years. And let's also think about, let's take our Americanized selves out of these equations. She's 6'5", 6'6", I want to say. The prisons over there are not like the prisons over here. She's probably the most uncomfortable because they don't have beds that fit for her in prison. I mean, when I heard, I was having a conversation last week. It's like, from what I hear in those prisons, in those jails, it's like, all right, when lights out, everybody has to rush to get a bed. And if you don't have a bed, you sleep on the floor. You're not treated with the same level. Like this prison over there ain't like prison here. So she's going through a lot more over there that we should be fighting more to get her home. Now, let me spin this full circle because that's why I ruffle a few feathers. Because the deal that Putin and them had was, all right, we trade her for an arms dealer that we have in prison or in America. That's not what you want to do because you don't want to let basically a terrorist go for a basketball player. But also the backlash that she's facing, because you get now this is where America stands in, because now there's backlash that now she's facing because she wants out of there when there are people saying that they have relatives and family members that have been in Russia's prison held captive longer than she is, but because they don't have the name she has, they're not getting that same look. So now you're having another fight. So it's just like it's a lose-lose constantly. Because it's like now we're not even coming into an agreement of, okay, yes, this is the move we want to get bring her home. Yes, we're focusing that attention. But then you have the other side saying, well, hold up. I got relatives that's been over there that's been in prison longer than she has for a lot less. Like, bring that back. Like, she ain't like, you know, it's like now you're facing that up and down battle. And that's where it gets so difficult now. Because like you're walking a thin line. Still speak on it. I'm avid. I don't care what somebody else feels. I got to speak on and stand on what I feel. And I do feel like she needs to come on because, again, I still just feel like it's unfair to have a player. And it's like this. She's not the only player that has to go overseas to play because they're not even getting the adequate pay to survive and live and function in the society of America. Like, it's just ridiculous to me.
It is ridiculous, Jules. And more importantly, you know, the fact that she is in this space, and I like how you put it. I mean, she's essentially a political prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She's a political prisoner. She's in a situation right now where she needs as much support as she can get, as much awareness. And we should be pretty much aware of the situation that she's in. Now it's just a matter of, like you bringing up, it's just a matter of how is America going to play it? How is Russia going to play it? Because we're also in the middle of a war.
Right.
You know, this is happening in the middle of a war on that side. So she is a prisoner. She is a political prisoner. So, you know, I'm happy to see that level of solidarity coming in from the WNBA. My hope is that it does put more pressure on the Biden administration, because we know that it's a delicate and sensitive situation. But I want to see Britney come home, man.
I want to home.
See Britney come home, and that's essentially what it is. But like you said, when you're dealing with the other situation of, you know, dealing with his arms dealer, everything, that is going to be the big thing. All right, folks, look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, speaking of the WNBA, I want to tell you what's trending about one of the elements of the game. So stay with us. Trends, Post, and Doing the Most is coming up next. Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
It's
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Let me just share with you some of the latest trends. We're not going to get into too many of them. Let's bring back Culture crew member Jules P. back into the discussion. Jules, we talked a little bit about the political side of the solidarity of the WNBA All-Star game, but I don't know what the hell the WNBA was thinking with this one. This is what's trending right now. The size of the trophy for the MVP. Check this out, folks. You know, every person, you know, any like All-Star games or any game, there's always an MVP. I can't make this up, folks. The MVP of the All-Star game, look at what she got. I just want to show this picture. Check this out, y'all. Check this out. What the hell is that? Bruh! Wait a minute. Jules! What is that?
See, yet again.
See, Shannon, my producer, was like, it looks like the baby of a baby trophy. Golly!
Yet again. Here we go.
Hey, look, see, this is... I mean, hey, run it back. I want you to run it back one more time just so people can see it. Just run the video back. Look at this, y'all. Look at the size of this trophy.
It's about the same size as the number on her jersey. Like, let's be honest.
I'm not
it's the same size as the 42 on her jersey. Ridiculous.
Bro, this is Kelsey Plum. She's the NBA All-Star. I mean, WNBA game, All-Star game MVP. And she gets a trophy the size of a cup, of a sippy cup.
And okay, devil's advocate.
Hey, look, this is why, and this was national. This is why women, out of all the stuff that's happening in this country,
you want me to say it?
Relating to women, out of all the things happening in this trophy should be so damn big. It covers her face, her jersey. She needs 2 WNBA players to carry that. Just because out of all the things, this is yo, Jewel, I can't be, this is from the people that won a league for women. You give them that little ass trophy.
Hey, you want to know the sad part? I have participation trophies bigger than that from when I played sports as a kid. The participation trophies you get just for joining the team were bigger than that.
Come on, man. All right, let me check in with our culture crew online. Big shout out to everybody online. Brother King Lee. Hey, King, you said it, bro. You said it. That is pathetic. That is it. And so I have seen larger trophies given to toddlers. My 3-year-old probably had, I'm telling you, I'm not even joking. Look, Jules' Gatorade bottle is bigger than that joint, man.
Bigger than that.
That's like, I'm really blown away by that. Hey, King, you right on it, bro. Shalinda checked in and said, look, my high school basketball trophy was bigger than that. How about your high school basketball was bigger than that?
I was about to say that. I was just about to say that.
How about that, Shalinda? Shit. All right, Tori. Yo, I'm telling you, the WNBA got the whole world on its side, bro. The whole world on its side, and you coming off with that little ass trophy. Tori, checked in. That's wrong in so many levels. My brother got one that size for track and field in high school. Wow. And he probably lost that joint too, Tori. Your brother probably lost that trophy. He probably like, where's that trophy at, Tori? Where is it at again? All right, Karen. Karen checked in. Thank you, Tori, for checking in. Karen checked in. Karen said, that's an elementary school trophy. No, they get bigger trophies than that in elementary school.
I got a bigger trophy.
They get bigger trophies than that in elementary school. All right, thank you, Karen. Janae, it's pint size. I can carry that in my purse for all that hard work. That check better be mega. That's the sad part about it. They give you a little ass trophy and a little ass check. They be like, you might as well, hey Jules, you might as well just clap for me. Don't even give me the damn trophy. Just clap.
Hey, again.
Hey, yo, a standing ovation is bigger than the trophy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, come on, man.
Karen M. Karen checked in. Karen M., you said disrespectful. Looks like the Cracker Jack box. If y'all remember the Cracker Jack.
Cracker Jack, wow, the prizes from the Cracker Jack box. Wow.
Oh man. Oh boy. Woo. Yes.
22.
Oh my Lord. Wow. And Tori responded saying he did lose the trophy. Hey, yo, if I was Kelsey, I'd be like,
man.
I got a big gulp in the car bigger than that joint. Like, what the hell is this? Hey, yo, and don't let her not have her name on it.
Where
don't let her not have the name on it. Just be.
Where you gonna put the name at? Where you gonna put the name at? Where you put the name at? We gonna put her initials.
Hey, look, I'm telling the WNBA like this, y'all. If y'all from the WNBA, you tuning in, real talk, give that woman and give women a bigger trophy. Stop playing, man. Y'all the League of Women. Y'all supposed to be celebrating, supporting, empowering, highlighting, showing the beauty, the athleticism of women. Get that woman a real damn trophy, man.
Hey, Farajii, but and this is to sum this up in real talk, and this is why I say the most. As a population, we have to support the WNBA. We gotta go to games. We gotta start selling out the games. That's the only way they're gonna get revenue.
Apparently, so they can pay for a big ass trophy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because
if nothing else, hey, look, hey, bro,
hey, bro, they're not even
where
full.
I am right now. Hey, where we are right now, I gotta go to a game, bro.
Yeah,
I gotta go to the WNBA just because I want them sisters to have some, and them women have some trophies, man.
Support them, man.
That's
you gotta
crazy.
go to the games. You gotta watch the games on television when they show them because the broadcast revenue dollars, and then go to the games because that's the only way they're gonna get revenue because it's clearly showing. It's clearly showing how in salary and trophy and in just presentation alone, travel accommodation is just not fair, man. It's not fair.
Look, man, and this is the sad part about it. The reality is the Brittney Griner situation has really brought positive attention to the WNBA, right? I know it's sad because her pain is their gain.
Right.
Y'all hear me on that? So the thing is like, if you really taking this moment, you got this big platform where everybody's looking at the WNBA. Man, that shit should be like crazy. Everything should be big. Everything should be about women. Why are you going so small? When the country is already thinking small about women. Why are you going so small?
Right.
Look, Miss Respect 90 checked in. Miss Respect, I hear you and I feel you. You said, welcome. Women are just not valued in American society as a whole. Welcome back, brother Farajii. Thank you so much, Miss Respect 90. And you are absolutely right. You can't even get it. You can't even get a big trophy from other women. You can't even get a big trophy from other women. It's one thing for a man to treat a woman small, but it's another thing for a woman to treat a woman small. I hate to see that. Man, oh man. All right, Jules. Maybe they hear us, brother. Maybe they will hear us.
They'll see me at the games. They'll see me at the games. I'll be loud and proud, front and center.
Right. We should just go, hey Jules, just go to the game with a sippy cup and be like, man, take this shit. Just paint a sippy cup and be like, this is y'all trophy.
Like, come on, y'all gonna do this? The disrespect, man.
Right.
Come on.
This is y'all trophy. Hey Jules, good to talk to you, brother. I'm so happy to see your face, man. First face when we come back, and I'm so happy it's yours. Thank you so much, brother, for being so good for the culture, man.
Already. Hey, man, listen. I'm coming out here, man. We talking.
You gotta come out here too.
I'm coming out there.
Y'all know what coast I'm on.
I'm coming out there.
we gonna talk. We can share more about it. But we y'all know what's going on. We got to make a move. Hey, Jules, I'll see you soon very much.
Yes,
all right.
Sure.
All right, folks. That's going to do it for me. I thank each and every one of you for checking in. Thank y'all, man, for being with us, being patient with us, and for riding along with us, folks. Very, very excited about some of the big changes, some of the new things that we are embarking upon. So again, thank you for your continued support of Black Star Network and the culture here on the Black Star Network. We want to make sure that we're going to bring you further into the fold. My team. Thank you so much. Joe, Shannon, Keenan, Ariel, my culture crew. Oh my gosh. Phenomenal group of people that are doing the great work of being so good for the culture. So thank you. All right, folks, stay tuned. Up next is at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. This big brother, Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, we ask that you help us in this effort to continue to strengthen the voice, the signal, the impact of Black Star Network. Make sure you all check us out at blackstarnetwork.com. Go to the website, download the app on your phone, on your devices, on your tablet, any way you can find it. You're on Roku, everywhere. We're on TV, we're on devices, we're on your phone. But make sure that you show your support for blackstarnetwork.com. Your finances would be great, but your support really is just helping us to get as many views, as many shares, and so much more. And when you support us, so we look forward to your support of blackstarnetwork.com. That's going to do it for me today. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?